could you just tell me like what's your name and like what you do?
Yeah, my name is Olu Odubajo. I work at KPMG. I'm a customer and digital consultant. What that means is I help improve customer experiences for businesses, brands, government, using technology or using best practice or ways of working, and to help them become more customer centric. So I've been doing that for the last 4.5 years now. And I'm enjoying it. And I think it's really been interesting to work with a number of brands to help them with their customer strategy and their marketing, their sales, etc. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I do.
that's really cool. And for those that don't know, Olu's actually our London chapter leader at Circle of Entrepreneurs. So he's been doing a lot of the grassroots work for us on that front. And yeah, no. So I wanted to like ask like what are the the key two like initiatives you kind of launched within KPMG, and just in terms of what they are and how you thought of them and what steps you took right to go from that
Yeah,
idea to actually following through on the implementation.
yeah. So the two programs that kind of made me an entrepreneur is reverse mentoring and more so the Black Entrepreneur Awards. Reverse mentoring within the first 2 years, within the first year of starting KPMG, the number two in the firm, the managing partner, he wanted to understand more about diversity and inclusion and why there isn't enough Black senior leaders in the firm, but he wanted to hear from the junior colleagues and people on the ground. So he set up a focus group. I joined that. I had a few ideas I shared. I followed up with some questions to him, sent it directly. He really liked a lot of those comments and actions that I said. And out of one of those discussions, it wasn't my idea, but someone said a reverse mentoring, and he was quite keen to be mentored by me. So we started that relationship, and we're still going strong now. About three and a half years strong. And it just started off with just half-an-hour meetings with him every month to some degree, talking about our interests, our hobbies, and then the two objectives, which were for him, he wanted to understand from me was what is it like working as a Black colleague at KPMG, and what is it like working as a junior colleague at KPMG. And so I helped him to try and understand what that looks like and what it feels like, using data, using just speaking to him about people's experience and my own experience. And then it started to become really helpful for him to make certain decisions in the firm, and he was getting a lot of value from that relationship. And then within like 6 to 9 months, he was really happy with the progress that he made in terms of understanding more about the experiences of Black colleagues. So he decided to launch the program across the whole UK firm. We've had over 100 mentors and 100 mentees join the program since then across all the UK offices, and it's just grown. Got a lot of positive feedback internally from people who are on the program, and also externally, such as Richard Branson writing an article about myself and him, about using reverse mentoring as a way to improve inclusion and diversity, and that was an article he wrote on Virgin. And yeah, just the success of the relationships that people have had that's helped them overcome certain barriers, help them understand more about the nuances in the Black employee experience. Yeah, and then it's still going strong now to this day. So that's reverse mentoring, and I helped co-lead the launch of it. Speaking to people, speaking at the events, doing some trainings, and that sort of thing to get people on board, to sponsor it, and to essentially just learn more about reverse mentoring.
From what you were talking about, it's actually really it definitely resonates. I think the importance of getting that board level understanding of kind of the experiences of people who are operating within the organization from a Black perspective. And I think especially what we're seeing currently, what's happening in the world with Black Lives Matter and all of these key issues coming to the fore, how important it is that economic injustices are addressed. And I think that's a really key way you're able to do that, right? Because you are, by virtue of giving that opportunity for Black entrepreneurs to apply for the award, you're basically providing them like an equity-free way for them to, you know, get mentorship, get support, and grow.
After reverse mentoring, my mentee Philip was like, "Oh, what else can we do?" So there was an event that I went to in Colombia with One Young World, and it was like basically a youth charity that's global, that basically tries to understand and brings together people who are thought leaders who are in their companies and trying to create change.
Sure.
And there are loads of people, young people, talking about the changes that they're making in their companies. I saw a lot of entrepreneurs, and then I was thinking to myself, maybe why don't we do something with Black entrepreneurs? I was looking at my friends who were Black entrepreneurs as well, and the problem that I found is that they all kept getting stuck at a certain position, whether it was that they couldn't get funding because they didn't know enough people to support them in that process, or they kept getting denied. They couldn't find enough mentors to help them, you know, raise money or to understand how to create a business plan, how to look after their finances, how to do their tax. They couldn't understand, maybe they didn't have enough people to help them with the strategy. And quite often they faced a number of those barriers, which led them to kind of stay that same size. So I just thought, let me just look at what KPMG can do, which is we have resources, we've got mentors, we've got expertise in growing businesses, and we've got cash. Why don't we do a program to help support Black entrepreneurs, help grow their businesses?
Yeah.
So I basically created a video to pitch that idea to the CEO and Philip, and then they said yes. And 9 months later, we basically created a team, which I led, and we then did the program, which was essentially a couple of months to market the program, try and get entrepreneurs, and essentially sell them the idea that if you win this program, only 3 winners were able to win, then you'll get 12 months mentoring, 12 months sponsorship, coaching, £5,000 each. And that's what we did. We did the launch, we did the awards night, and we got our 3 winners. And one of them now is doing really well. Recently just won $500,000 in the US for another similar awards program. And it was a hair and beauty company, and they're doing awesome since, you know, like from not just because what we help them in their marketing and branding and stuff like that, but it's more so that they were given enough like some coaching to help them go on to build better businesses and grow.
Yeah.
But the idea is that, you know, we were trying to support the Black community by helping them grow, by connecting our partners and our experts in different areas of the business to their challenges and their problems.
Yeah, and I think it's really key that you highlighted all of the main barriers, but I think they're even accentuated more so when you are like a Black entrepreneur and just starting on the ground, just because of the fact that there's just a lack of information, right, on like how do you actually create a business plan? What are the ways you pitch a VC or your company? How do you sell that? And I think what you did there is exactly like what we're trying to do at the Circle of Intrapreneurs, right? So like activate a lot of change agents within big organizations, and the benefit of that is you're able to act like it's a mindset shift. You're able to think like an entrepreneur, but also just leverage all of the resources, all of the capabilities, the scale, the platform, right, of a big 4 organization like KPMG in order to give others, right, the platform to shine a light on the, you know, the businesses that they're building. And it's not that prior to them going into the KPMG award, the businesses weren't very good businesses. It's just that they didn't know how best to sell their core products. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's I actually want to ask you, like, how did you, what kind of 3 key tips would you give to someone who is like quite junior within like whether it's a Magic Circle law firm or a bank or a consultancy, who wants to, you know, do their job to the best of their abilities, but also have an impact on a key social goal they have. What would you recommend?
I'll recommend, number one, first to make sure that they're doing their job, their day job, well, as a baseline, as a reason to feel confident that if they take on another extra task, it's not going to impact negatively on the quality of their work. Because you're not paid to do all these extra stuff. You're paid to do your work, your job, that the skills that they hired you for. So it's really important, with as much ambition and passion you have with the other stuff that are beyond the day job, but just to make sure that you protect the quality of your work first and foremost, so that it gives you a platform to then say, on top of the quality of work that I'm providing, that I'm giving, and the outputs that I'm doing for my clients, for the business, I have capacity also to do XYZ projects. So I would say number one is just be clear that you're not compromising the quality of your work by taking on more stuff. So focus on the quality of your day job and the outputs that you provide. Two is then be really clear on how you want to be a benefit to the community, to the environment, to the business, whatever the idea is. Be clear that you're not just reinventing the wheel, or you're not just doing something that's going to be short term. Be really clear that what you're doing not only helps the community or the business, but it also helps you yourself. Because sometimes you forget that you're so passionate about trying to be an entrepreneur and creating these business programs and community programs, you don't actually grow together as well. So I'll just say, make sure that you're aligned with what you want to do as a social project. Mine was, I'm passionate about social mobility, which is providing opportunities for disadvantaged people. So if any of my projects outside of my day job can relate to that sort of goal, then that means I'm on track and it's the right thing for me to do and the right thing for me to put my time in, because it's aligned to my purpose, my values, and my beliefs. So yeah, be clear. So that's the second one. Make sure that you're clear on what you want to do. And then thirdly, just to make sure you find time to invest in your networks, because it's your networks that are going to help you offload some of that work, open doors for you to have conversations to people who can actually help you start those ideas or those projects that you have, and maintain those networks so that they can essentially be your key to getting things running in the project, in the organization that you work for.
Sure. Yeah, that's super interesting. And I think at least one thing that stuck out to me when I was at KPMG for the Black Heritage Talent Week was that you moved from forensic risk to customer and digital, and you took time really to try and figure out and reflect on what am I good at, what are the skills that I'm building, and how am I able to almost deepen my expertise on those strengths, right? As opposed to working so much on just making sure that the weaknesses aren't as weak. I was wondering, how has that fed through into kind of a lot of the entrepreneurship work you've been doing in terms of leading those projects and ensuring that you're able to almost have time for them, but ensure that they're aligned with your skill set and what skills you're trying to build?
Yeah, good question. I think initially it was difficult because I hadn't led enough projects to have experience in how to get the best out of my team. So it meant that I made quite a lot of mistakes being a leader in the Black Entrepreneur Awards and trying to launch that. So I personally felt that I didn't make the best out of my team, and that impacted, their motivation, possibly some of the quality of the outputs and the speed and just the culture, I guess. And looking back, I could have, I definitely would have spent more time trying to get an understanding of how to manage a team as an entrepreneur, because quite often, because it's your idea, you're kind of default to lead it. But I was a junior colleague at the time, I was a graduate, So I hadn't led much projects, and I was only in the firm for like 2 years, or 2 to 3 years at the time. So I didn't have much experience. So I think for depends where you are in your career. Like if you're a junior person in your career, I would definitely try and find a mentor who can help you navigate tough decisions with your team that you're likely to have, help you navigate questions that you want to share with your team and get the best out of them. And it's help you trying to understand what are the best ways to manage a team to get to the outcomes that you want. So that's the first thing. Two, so as you mentioned earlier, like I moved from forensics to customer digital because I finally realized what I was good at, and that was around creativity. It was around presentations, facilitating workshops, being inspirational. It was a lot around the future forward thinking and trying to essentially create new ideas to help grow businesses, help increase revenues, that sort of stuff. And I realized I wasn't doing that in my old job, forensics, and that's why I moved. And that helped me, like knowing that I'm good at presenting, knowing that I'm good at facilitating workshops, that helped me feel comfortable when I was speaking on stage at the Black Entrepreneur Awards, or when I was facilitating workshops and training for the mentors and mentees when I had to speak in public. I knew that was a strength of mine, so it gave me confidence, but also I was comfortable that I can do that bit. So that allowed me to have clarity. But the only thing, as I learned on the job, is that my leadership skills in terms of managing people wasn't as great. But I learned that on the job. And looking back, I should have got more advice from mentors to help me during those process.
Sure. And I think like as a black entrepreneur, like it always can be very lonely, right, in the workspace, because one, you're thinking about all of these creative ideas and thinking about how am I going to implement them, but two, it's not as representative in a huge corporate. And I think, how do you ensure, like, what you're talking a lot about kind of network building, right? And in terms of that piece of making sure you're in those key environments where you can learn a lot, but also get enabling people to help you in the places where you're not as strong at. And you mentioned One Young World, Circle of Entrepreneurs, you're doing a lot. How would you recommend any, aspiring entrepreneur or person of color who isn't necessarily in these kind of spaces, what would you recommend they do to try and broaden their network?
So I would say, number one, join LinkedIn if you haven't got LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the first port of call to expand your network. Just add random people that are related to your hobbies, your passion, your interests, and colleagues as well. And then look at your colleagues and who they follow, and see the types of people that you want to follow based on who they follow, if you're interested in those sorts of jobs that they do, or skills. So one, use LinkedIn as a platform to connect with people. That's a simple, easy win. Two, I would say get involved in the events. So either go on Eventbrite and search, social mobility or entrepreneurship or technology, digital, anything that's related to your interest, or your skills or your job. You need to throw yourself out there. So during this time, because we're in a pandemic due to COVID-19, it's more difficult to kind of meet in person, but there's still loads of virtual events going on. A lot of Zoom events, a lot of Eventbrite events that are happening, that you can still join and connect with people. So don't underestimate the power of just signing up to loads of events throughout the year, and being optimistic that you'll meet people there who are like-minded to you. It's really important to take those risks and take those chances, to take some of your time out of your day, of your social life, to build relationships without knowing where it will go. The only way you do that is by going to these events virtually or in face-to-face, joining LinkedIn, and connecting with people by searching who they are and what they do. And then thirdly, if there's, I think it's just to speak to your friends to ask for recommendations of people who they think would be good mentors or mentees or good people to connect with. There isn't a formula. There is no magic towards all of this. My network grew because I joined One Young World, I joined KPMG, I launched my own podcast, I joined the Circle of Intrapreneurs. Like all of this is not, it's all organic. There's no buy 1,000 followers today now for free in it. Like you can't do that. Well, you can, but obviously I'm not doing that. But there's no formula. So you just have to build it one person at a time, by basically taking time out to go to these events, to look, to research the people that you want to network with.